I just remember, I just have such great memories of making that album, you know, that band with Tigran and Nate and Adam Benjamin, Joe Clayton. I mean, we had such a fun time. Somehow it was like all this, yeah, at the time it was like kind of this crazy conceptual music, but everybody, I don't know, we were like-minded, and we found a way to just become this nice amoeba.
Folks, this week I bring you parts of a very fun interview I just did with Ben Wendell of Kneebody and of his own accolades. And just for a little context, I've been obsessed with Ben's music for a minute. 10 years ago, one of the first things I shot for the channel was a video about my attempts to cover a couple songs from his then new album, Frame. I've also done multiple videos about his most frequent drum collaborator, Nate Wood.
Do you think like I'm Nate Wood, I'm a drummer? Or is it like I'm wearing this hat now, I'm wearing this hat now?
It's all one universe now. It's all like from my brain.
So needless to say, I was super excited when Ben agreed to do something for the channel. We'll release that full interview soon, but today the more edited version with context about what we were playing and info about the songs and the drum parts all added in for you. Cause yeah, we jammed. Basic premise, Ben's known as a composer and sax man, but many people don't know that a lot of these famous drum parts from those great songs were also Ben's creation. And today I'm gonna play some of those parts with him and then interview him about them. I'm Nate, this is the 80/20 Drummer, and let's get it started. And folks, today I'm going to be demonstrating some very specific drum parts from the Nate Wood canon, and you might want to transcribe those. And the good news is we've done it for you. If you want to download that transcription, it's free if you just click the link below the player and tell us where to send it on the next page. With that, on with the video. The first song we played was Blocks, from his mind-blowing 2012 album called Frame. Without further ado, let's get to it. Tell me about this drum part. Like, what was the first part of this you wrote?
What was the first part I wrote? Yeah, usually when I'm making drum beats, I usually start with kick and snare and try and come up with like a clave for that. And then I start adding other components.
So was it this part?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And whose idea was it to play the one-andas over the bar line with the brush? Was that Nate's innovation, or was that something that you came up with too?
Yeah, where he's kind of going.
Let's cut in a bit. Here's the part of the song I'm referring to. Let's demo that on the kit for a hot second. The song's in 9, so it has this basic kind of clave. And Nate Wood does this kind of Vinnie Colaiuta override with the brush. Okay, back to the interview.
Yeah, where he's kind of going.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
One of the most interesting and captivating parts to me is there's sort of two major sections. So there's the initial bit before that bass line comes in with the bass doubling the left hand in the keyboard, and at some point Nate sort of switches back and forth. So like there's the intro, there's the bass solo, and then the soprano solo starts, and then Nate goes to the ride cymbal and starts catching more of the keyboard left hand figures.
Okay, another spot to add context. Here's the song at the spot I'm referring to. Hear how the keyboard left hand is doubling the bass? Let's cut deeper into the song where Nate is doubling the original drum part and also catching those figures. Okay, back to Ben's response.
How much of that was thought through on your part, and how much of that was just you handed Nate the whole package and said, "Make of this what you will"?
Yeah, like on that tune, yeah, once we arrive, it's like quote unquote the full parts. Yeah, we were just talking a lot about how to overlap things. And again, I'm very spoiled having someone like Nate who can kind of do drum machine like layering with his limbs, but then add this looseness to it, So we already had this clave, we already had this thing that was kind of implying a 4, and then which I like to do a lot of the time on drum beats is then it was like, okay, let's add one more factor to really smear this thing and make it just seem make it more difficult to kind of get a sense of where one is, and that's so when the full beat comes in, him adding the dotted quarter notes in the hi-hat was that moment.
Last interruption. Dotted quarters in the left foot. Here's the kicker. If we take something like the original beat, it's this. But then Nate Wood added dotted quarters in the left foot, which elevated the whole thing. Let's cut to me playing with Ben again.
But then in terms of him, yeah, like I think initially the idea was like when he played the beat clean initially and we were kind of working it out. Yeah, the ride was like these kind of straight half notes in 4.
So
Yeah.
like, it's the same pattern the brush was playing,
Totally.
except transposed to the bell. Yeah.
Totally. So you kind of have this implied 4 thing, you have this dotted quarter note thing, and then and even the original clave, it's like, it's the same distance between the kick and the snare, but then you've got this extra beat to deal with.
Right.
But if you were to straighten it out, it would be a straight beat.
Well, on that note, want to talk about Backbou? Is that extra hard when the left foot hats go away?
Oh my God, so much. And yeah, and it's like the whole challenge of playing that tune. I remember that I remember when we were working on it, especially because Tigran got a solo on that one. Yeah, it was just this idea of the whole thing is triplet based, right? Obviously. But then once you start doing those displaced triplets, it's really at that tempo where you can stretch it to 16ths.
This one loses a bit without the melody, but it's a banger, so let's talk about it. The A section is in 9. I'll play the literal part with the bass drum. And now I'll do something more like Nate Wood does, where he phrases around the bass line. As this was another of Ben's inventions, I wanted to know more.
What's the continuity throughout this, and it's actually the same as Frame, is the offset. So the clave, it's a 9, so it's like so my instinct, as I was telling you earlier, if someone put this in front of me, is I'll just be like,
It's honestly, if I was to guess, it's just I love the idea of layers. That's it. So I like if everything is playing the same rhythm, like if you've got harmony, melody, and rhythm, and everybody's on the same, kind of playing the same thing, then I think of that as a one-dimensional feeling. And then the more you can kind of create micro and macro views of the music, then the more, to me, it feels like it gets wider and it gets more 2 or 3 dimensional. So yeah, when I think about the drums, I'm thinking about like, well, those downbeats are covered in the bass line, so we don't need it in the drums, per se.
Now let's talk about the other half of that tune, the B section in 5. Nate Wood maintains the same offset with the backbeat as in the A section.
This tune is really hard to play. It's like hilarious trying to, you know, whatever, 10 years later trying to play this on keyboard and I can't even barely play, you know. Playing it with you, it makes me realize this is very hard. And I find myself stomping my foot to give myself downbeats. But to feel the downbeats but to not actually literally play them is what makes it sound cool in my mind. You know, it's implied, but it's not there.
well, should we talk about drum battle?
Okay.
Drum battle. One of Kneebody's anthems, a vehicle for Nate Wood to do his thing. It opens with this section in 5. Of course, I was curious to hear from Ben how much of this had his handprints on it. But first, let's get an inventory of the other 2 major beats of this song. Here's Kneebody playing what we might call the bridge, which is in 6. Which, after a keys solo, finally cashes out to this.
Like basically when I'm writing, I try and take the least amount of information possible and try and create the most variations out of that piece of information. So literally almost all of that song, except for that super intricate melody, is just all based off of da da. You know, the bass line, you know, that little beep, boop, 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 you know, it's all just working through permutations of that, whether we're in 5 or 6 or 9. So I think that's where it started, and you know, that's one of the earlier Kneebody tunes that we've just we've played that tune a lot, and it's still really challenging for us. And I do remember specifically that solo section was the hardest thing for us, and we shedded a lot. And honestly, most of the history of Kneebody has been us trying to catch up to Nate, basically. To be honest, you know, so like that tune. I remember we would get into these practice sessions where basically the goal was, can we hold down those different permutations of the 9? So either the dugout, 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 or the other one that it implies, which is like, you know, like dugout, 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 you know. And we would do games where basically Nate would play like really, really clear, polite time to kind of help us ground. And then as soon as we were solid, then he would actually try and get to like derail us basically. And that was like our way of doing resistance training over that section.
And in case you're curious what that resistance training sounds like, check this out. One thing I'll leave you with in case you're masochistic and want to practice this. I used to sing to myself in the car while clapping the da-das like this. And doing that a decade ago helped me remember it well enough to play it here with Ben.
That's how you get the gig.
So folks, hope you enjoyed that excerpt of my upcoming full-length interview with Ben Wendell. If you're watching this the day it's out, the Ben interview should be published the following Monday. And just remember that if you'd like a free transcription of all the drum beats we worked on in this video, you have but to click below the player and download it for free on the next page. Tuesdays, Ben will always enjoy these. See you again real soon in another Lesson of the Week.